to make that move shorter. You got 4 wide in the back. Look at this.
That's not going to work.
You got Jeros, you got McGrauther, you've got everyone there copping it in, and they will funnel themselves out. That is what Watkins Glen's all about. 4 wide heading into the carousel.
Styles seems to think so. He looks to the inside, coming down into Brooklands. He's got the apex, but he doesn't have the right-hander into Luffield. This is going to be tough to complete it. A nose starts to pull ahead, and does the Lamborghini have enough grunt beneath it? It's hard to say yet. Now through Woodcote, this carries on, DJ.
It carries on, and they're going to go side by side into Cops. Here they come, waiting to see who's going to make it work. It is the Porsche that's able to pull it out. A great move, but here comes the fight back. This isn't done yet for the Demon Tweaks car. They're going to try to go around the outside here of Maggots.
And Jack Styles sends it in deep, and that is going to get him into third.
Tries to set him up here down the straightaway into Tarzan.
Look at the immediate defense, but now, oh, he's a little weavy there, and he's going to have to give him the outside way deep into the corner. Lotfula somehow makes it. He wasn't quite on the apex, but that's the pass done for the 22.
It's looking very good. Simo's going to try to tuck up behind in the draft. He's going to have to really send it here down into the Firestone turn, and send it he does down to the inside, but that's going to be a little bit of a fight back there from Pablo, but Pablo has to give up the ghost.
Nobody able to make the overtake until now, as Mickey goes wide, forces himself to have to cover off the inside once again. Andy Fox trying the long way around, which is going to switch back to the inside. First change of the lead in some time as they elbow each other out of the way, and Andy Fox is your new leader. It's going to be 2 positions down. Oh no, they tangle. Mats Anderson coming together. Another little hello from Mickey. He did not like that. Like many a mythical hero, Andy T swept into town, cleaned up, and then left just as suddenly to go where fate takes him. His vacuum will likely open the doors for any number of talented drivers to step up and become champion. We'll start off the new season in familiar territory here at Elkhart Lake, so let's see who begins with a bang as we get ready to watch round 1 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Road America has entered legendary status among race fans in the States. Let's head to our track guide to find out a little bit more about it. Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track is laid out. Long straights are a major feature, and drivers will build up incredible momentum before they find themselves interrupted by tight 90-degree corners. In fact, for a 4-mile circuit, it has shockingly few turns. It also has little in the way of variation in layouts. The main course is only broken up once with a single chicane added in the bend version. But don't take this to mean that it's a boring track. Elevation change happens many times over a lap, with a few places taking you into corners which are quite blind. But 2 of the turns on the back half of the course are perhaps the most distinctive. One is the carousel with its more than 180-degree radius. It just feels like it never stops. The other is the kink. Terrifyingly fast with very little runoff, it can end someone's race in a flash. As you'd expect, the heavy braking zones make for some ideal overtaking spots. Turn 5 sees plenty with its downhill entry. The hurried downs can offer drivers a chance at a sneak attack if you're brave, and then Canada Corner gives you one last shot before the lap is over. It's no wonder major organizations such as IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the SCCA all host major races here. All in all, many drivers rate this track as the best track in North America. Many who hop in the seat and try it can quickly understand why. Well, DJ, as we said, we've been here many a time with the Lotus 79 group, so they should know the place, but how is it going to drive anyways?
Well, Joe, it's going to drive absolutely fantastically. These Lotus 79s really take to this track incredibly well. Watch for some great overtaking zones going down into turn 1 and down into turn 5 in particular, as well as off of the kink going down through Kettle Bottoms into Canada Corner. Now, the high downforce on these cars generated by the ground effects means that the carousel, the kink, some of the faster sections on this track that you sometimes have to see some lifting and coasting are going to be flat out, but these drivers are going to be very close to one another. I anticipate a very close race and a very exciting one.
Absolutely. It's going to stay tight with that slipstream, keeping each other right tucked in. But let's take a look at how the championship wound up, because as we mentioned, Andy T was crowned the champion with 2 races to go, actually. And Pauli Partanen, though, with Andy not being around for 2 of those races, basically swept the final 4 and brought it within 20 points. Michael de Turk was a long ways back, and it was only a single point between himself, Freesia, and Kayla each at the end of the season. So they could have another very close fight throughout this one, especially if there is that speed vacuum that winds up bringing a lot of other drivers to the fore. What about in the teams championship, DJ?
Well, in the team's championship, it was a little bit more spread out at the top, with Ligier Gitanes able to hold a 42-point advantage over Coop's car, Fittipaldi Automotive. From there back, about 20 points back to Parmalat Racing Team Brabham, but a very close fight between them and John Player Team Lotus and Walter Wolf Racing, keeping it close as well, about 9 points back for 5th.
As for today's event, we are going to see a 22-lap race take place around here. It's open setup, as we mentioned, and that's going to be a big talking point. We've heard information that a variety of downforce settings could actually still be quick, so it'll depend on where you wind up after lap 1. They have no spare car, however, and if you get damage, it's easy to do that in a few places around here. You're basically just going to have to either park it or sit and hope that you've got enough time to repair it and get back out there. They've got a drive-through penalty at 17 incidents, and they'll be disqualified if they reach 25. There's not many places where you can go off and have an easy time keeping it from getting damage with that. So we'll see if anybody actually gets close to that throughout the day as we wait for the first lap times to come in. Looks like up at the front of the field right now, Partanen, as we said, was really on a streak last time out, is currently going to be our first to set a time. He's got the number 3 coming down into the hurry downs right here. And then one of the spots that you were talking about earlier, DJ, the carousel with these ground effects, that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it very much is. And really the trick there is going to be trying to hold as much speed as possible through the corner. Obviously, the ground effect gets more significant the more speed you carry. So if you try to back off a little bit, play a little bit soft and light with that right foot, you're actually going to slow yourself down even more than you should. The best way to take it in these cars is absolutely flat out and just pick the perfect line.
So he comes off of Canada Corner, just Bill Mitchell Bend, and the last left or right-hander to go here as he breaks for that. Needs to get on the throttle as early as he can for plenty of speed, not just for this lap, but because he's got one more after this. If this isn't good enough, he'll want to continue around. Andy T, by the way, is here today. We understand he'll be at least doing this as a one-off, a 50.6 for Partanen, puts him on the pole, but not by much. Michael de Turk is less than a tenth behind him. Looking to see where Andy T is. They're not going to be able to dilly-dally here as they've got just over a minute 50 for most of the drivers to set a single lap.
Yeah, and very, very close, especially around such a long lap as Road America. The top 5 or so only separated by about 6/7 of a second. This is one of the longer road courses in Road America, so very, very impressive that everybody is this close. And that 57 thousandths of a second between Parton and Turk, that is infinitesimal, Joe.
Unfortunately, looks like DeTurk has parked it, so he must have had a mistake on that second lap. At best, he'll be on the front row, definitely not pole. We're watching T out of Bill Mitchell Bend and coming up to the final turn. Right now, it looks like he might be off of a better time. I'm not sure if this is going to be a quick one for him. And as he comes to cross, let's see if this one is set. It is a 50.3. Actually, that's pole. So my timing and scoring was not telling the right thing. That is a full quarter of a second faster than Partonen.
Yeah, and he was purple through the first half of that lap, Joe, but then lost a little bit of time to Partonen on the second half of the lap. Now, that would tell me that he's potentially running just a hair more downforce, maybe picking up some time down through the hurry downs in that part of the track and losing it a little bit through the flat-out blast coming from the carousel all the way down to Canada Corner.
Actually, Partonen's coming up now. And it's not looking like an improvement, but as I've already seen, time and scoring sometimes isn't accurate, and it hits a 50.655. So Partonen just a 10th or a 100th off of his previous time, that time by. In the meantime, here's Ryanen and the 14 who's going to park it on his second lap. And Barry West going to follow him up the hill. Barry's first lap was a 52.2. This is top split as, somebody's gone off. I think that's the 18. I think that's Finnegan.
Was the 13 of Isaac Snyder we're hearing that went off. Here comes the 19 machine. This is Timothy Vaughn bringing the car around through Canada Corner, trying to take as much exit curbing as he can there. Good line through Bill Mitchell Bend. Currently down in 10th place, hoping to improve a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be able to.
I'm looking at Paul Williams as well in the 12. He didn't get a time on his first lap. Second one, a 53.2. That's going to be good enough to put him on the board, but he will still be in last place, unfortunately. Now on up the hill, here comes Andy T on that second flyer. He's already got pole. Doesn't really need to improve, but he does anyways. A 50.143, half a second clear of anybody right now.
Wow, Andy T throwing down the gauntlet. Whoa, that is not the line you want to take through that final corner. Not sure who exactly that was, but that looked a little rough.
That was Finnegan who spun out there at the very end. And yeah, it doesn't look like anybody else is able to complete a lap from here. Before we get to our grid, we want to mention our channel sponsor, the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code, MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. So let's take a look at our starting grid for today. Andy T back to show he hasn't lost speed, even if he isn't going to challenge for the championship by his own admission. Pauli Partonen will be starting next to him. Michael DeTurk is looking fast, but failed to set a second qualifying time. He'll start from third place. Jani Ryanen will be in fourth, followed by Theo Schleret. You've got Gernot Friesche starting in sixth. Then it's Jukka Tolinen in P7. It's Thomas Torp to his outside. Row 5 has Isaac Snyder and Timothy Vaughn.
Starting off in 11th place, it will be Ove Trangerade, followed by Dylan Freckleton with Kimo Välikäläinen in 13th and Karthik Pai in 14th. Timothy Reed is 15th with Barry West outside of him. Pablo Suarez and Javier Mascara will line up in row 9 with Glendolyn Old and Nathan Finnegan rounding out your top 20. Paul Williams brings up the back of the field in 21st.
So 21 drivers, and we got 21 more down in the second split racing here at the same time. So this is the cream of the crop. It is a little bit hot out there today at 99 Fahrenheit on the track surface with a little bit of wind to boot at 10 miles an hour. So expect the drivers to have to watch out for any potential gusts and also for the tires getting a little hot there. As you can see, 37 Celsius for anybody who goes by metric temperatures. We're just waiting for the last of them to grid up. Watch out for who is quick here on this first lap down the straight towards turn 5, because if they are fast in a straight line, it's going to be very tough to get by them, even with the slipstream, because you need to be able to get through and then stay ahead. So who will be able to trim it out and stay quick elsewhere on the track? Andy T already parking it up in the Raccoon Racing cars, which once again represent very well today. Ryanen behind him, one of the Finns in the number 14, lining up in 4th. And then Partanen in the number 3, not part of that Raccoon Racing team, is going to be joining him on the front row of the grid. Looks like everybody's out there. That means the engines will now start to rev as the lights come up for the opening round of the Sunday Grand Prix Series. And the green flag is out. We had a jump start from somebody in the back. I didn't quite make out who that is, but Andy T is miserable off the line. Partanen is already past him. Michael de Turk is trying to come up the inside to see if he can take second place away as well. And it looks like he's going to be able to do that, just sliding in front of Andy T. Behind him, Schleret gets ahead of Ryanen. And farther back, it looks like everybody's through turn 1 safely.
Looks like a little move in the back there for Gernot Prix trying to come down into turn 3, but nothing's going to happen there. They all slot into single file order now as they work their way down the moraine sweep. Everybody wanted to take full advantage of the draft here.
Remember, Partanen 4 straight wins at the end of last season. Can he make it 5 in a row, split across 2 behind them? Andy T had to go defensive on Schleret, who spins around. Multiple cars have to try and dodge around, and unfortunately, not all of them are able to get clear as a few made contact with the wall.
Yeah, just a little bit of a kerfluffle there coming down into turn 5. There's some heavy damage there. I think that's Karthik Pai on your screen, who is going to take a tow. Pai effectively out of the race.
Well, sad that we're going to lose one at the very start there, especially since Karthik has been showing a pretty good bit of speed here since last season. But there you see the number 3 down through the kink for the first time in anger, as Michael de Turk is about half a second back. Andy T is now down to 3rd from that pole position, but look at how big of a gap that mess in turn 5 caused. They've got 2 seconds down to Ryanen.
Yeah, everybody just having to check up there a little bit, and that's going to allow for a little bit more of a room for these drivers up front to attack. I think de Turk and T, they're able to know that they don't have to worry about an assault coming from behind. They can just focus up ahead, maybe try to close in on Paulie Parkson and really go for it. Although right now, I think it's de Turk who has to worry about Andy T behind him.
Yeah, T's got a lot of speed here, it looks like. And as they come into the first corner, he's got an overlap, but he's not fully ahead. Given space at the apex, Michael de Turk still fights him, coming off the corner, down into turn 3 now. He's once again going to be around the outside, but he breaks deep for it, and the drag race continues.
Oh, and this is going to hurt the both of them. They are neither going to have the drafts here, and that is absolutely mega down this long moraine sweep. But it's going to be a battle of the late breakers going down into turn 5.
I can report as they head into turn 5. Looks like T is going to wind up with that spot finally, that it was Timothy Vaughn who had the jump start in the number 19, and he has since brought into the pit lane. Now, unfortunately, he's come into his pit stall, which means he's going to have an even longer penalty, I believe, because I think that should only be a drive-through for him. But in the meantime, as we watch T into Turk, now the question is, can Michael keep up with Andy T, even if he is quicker in a straight line?
Well, that's what it's going to all come down to. And here for de Turk, he is just going to try to have to maximize those corner exits. If he's able to take himself nice and behind in the draft, that should be able to just keep him up behind for long enough, but we'll have to see.
Had some really big movers here today. Gwendolyn Old has moved up to 11th, starting 19th. So impressive stuff there from the number 11, fittingly. And they did set a qualifying time, so this is legit, it seems, unless they had some sort of error and then messed up the second lap. Meanwhile, as they fly through Bill Mitchell-Benz, that is just behind Ove Trangrade in the Honda liveried car that you saw ahead of Gwen. And that's the number 10 in 10th position. Partanen, in the meantime, is going to set the fastest lap of the race. So he seems like he is running away from Andy T at this stage. It's at about 1.5 seconds up at the very top as we check in on Torp chasing on the 14 of Ryanen.
Yeah, trying to see what he can do here again. This is going to be that big draft train that you see, and you really want to try to close these gaps. I think there's a lot of impetus here on Isaac Snyder. That is the car just flashed through to try to close that gap down a little bit. He does not want to lose it all, and he's going to be under attack here from Jukka Tolvanen.
At Tolvanen down to the inside as they almost go 3 wide. That's Timothy Reed, who is thinking about 3 wide now, coming off the turn, but doesn't have the corner exit. Tolvanen stays behind, but look at the slide from Snyder as he tries to steer the car in. The 13 is going to be able to retain the spots, and quite a train forming back there. That's Gernot Frische and Ove Trangrade just in the row.
Yeah, indeed, Joe, and you talked about that slide. Now, that was coming up under the Corvette Bridge, and that is one of the trickiest corners on this track. It's a very steep uphill that suddenly flattens out, and you have got to be absolutely feathering that right foot on the throttle pedal through there. It's very, very easy to spin the rear tires, especially in these Lotus 79s with just as much torque as they have. So that is a big area to force some mistakes.
Down into the braking of Canada corner. It's not over yet. Tolvanen finds the blue number 5, poking his nose into that right-hander. Let's see if he gets a better exit off the final turn, because this is probably going to be the most critical amongst them as everybody tries to get the throttle down, and it is handy for Tolvanen as he's got Isaac Snyder in his crosshairs, and he's going to look to the inside as Isaac does not defend.
Very interesting there from behind. Timothy Reed thinking about going along with him there. You can see him trying to pick a lane. It looks like this is going to be pretty much... No, it is not. Snyder's going to try to hold the defense around the outside.
Wow. Must have more wing cranked into it. And behind him, Gernot Frische, is the savvy battler, is going to try and get involved. Unfortunately, that does not work out for him. He might be vulnerable to Trangrade as well, as we got an incident, it looks like, potentially with, I think, the 18. Oh, and he is completely off, and that's his day over. Meanwhile, battle down into turn 5 as we are Noah's Ark into the corner. And Isaac Snyder, this time on the outside, cannot defend, although he might be able to cut back. Tolvanen is vulnerable as they come down into turn 6. He's going to try and go the long way around on this one, and this time it works.
Yes, it does. That was very, very gutsy there. We just talked about how tricky it is to get a move like that done through turn 6, and I love what I'm seeing from behind here from Timothy Reed, just poking his nose this way and that, trying to force an error if he can now out of Isaac Snyder.
So Tolvanen's clear. Can he start to run away? Was this a plug in the spigot as the 13 finds Reed, Frische, and Trangrade still breathing down his neck? They slide out of the kink and down through the kettle bottoms, but Snyder looks like he's closing a bit. So is Reed. Will they converge? No, they're going to stay in a line.
Oh, gonna come together there, coming through Canada corner. Snyder just trying to hold on here, trying to stop a little bit of the hemorrhaging here. Doesn't want to let Timothy Reed on by him, although it looks like Jukka Tolvanen really starting to pull away just a little bit. Snyder looking a little bit out of control there. I wonder if he's running a little bit less wing, a little bit looser as he runs through the corners.
Timothy Reed's got a great run on him because of that. Andy T now setting the fastest lap of the race. As we head towards the first corner, Reed is not confident enough, and Isaac Snyder is the one that breaks a little bit later as there's a snap of oversteer from Reed, and Frische is going to take advantage of it. He gets down to the inside of turn 3, but will he regret this as he has to give space to the outside? Timothy Reed holding tough, and now Ove Trangrade gets the toes. The two of them fight down through the Marine sweep.
And remember, Ove is a driver that likes to run with a little bit less wing around here, so there's definitely a chance that he's going to be able to pull himself on through, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. Timothy Reed going from the aggressor to the defender and losing 2 positions. Who's that off?
That's Ryanen. Ryanen's off, and Thomas Torp is as well. They were battling earlier. That might be related, and I'm checking the replay on my end. It looks like Ryanen made the initial spin, and Torp just got caught up in it. So both of them losing multiple spots because of that, and this promotes Tolvanen up into 4th.
Yes, it does. He'll be pretty happy with that, as that really does change the order around here. Although now that gap between Jukka Tolvanen and Michael de Turk is up to a whopping 7.5 seconds.
We mentioned T took the fastest lap last time by. It was about 0.2 quicker than Partanen, so he's starting to respond and putting the hammer down as we come into Canada corner. I think we got a moment to take a look at that replay of what happened out of turn 5. So let's look at Ryanen and see if maybe he just caught a little too much grass, or did he goose it too hard?
Let's take a look. Comes down into the corner. That's a wide but normal line through there. Oh, he just brought a little bit too much speed and caught out there. Oh, you hate to see that, Joe.
Torp thought he could get through and was just snagged. Torp still goes, but Ryanen has parked it. We have lost himself, Finnegan, Freckleton, and Pye up to this point. Timothy Vaughn back out on track after his initial penalty, and running once again through the Moraine sweep. It is now at 1.1 seconds between Partanen and T. That time by 52.2 for Pauli. Andy a 51.9. So another fastest lap for T. And he's actually got it down now to about a second. Oh, did Freesia just get somebody?
No, I think Gernot was thinking about it, but not able to get the move done on Isaac Snyder, really putting pressure to the back of that number 13 machine, especially coming down into turn 5.
Yep, managed to at least get wheel to wheel with the 13. And behind him, he's got to watch out for Ove Trangere, Timothy Reed now at the back of the train, whereas before he was a lot higher in this group. We're only on lap 6 of this race, so there's still plenty of time to try and make up for it. But the more he fiddles around with all these other cars on track, the more time he's going to be wasting throughout this race, which does not have full course cautions. Every bit of racing that you do is going to lose you time.
Yes, it is. You've got to be especially careful around there, trying to see what they can do. You do not want to lose any time, especially during the braking zones on this track, as they do come at you rather quickly. And if you mess up through there, specifically coming down through the hurry downs, you can throw off your whole rhythm and throw off the whole lap.
Off the final turn, once again, all of them nice and tidy down to the apex as T sets another fastest lap of the race. I think he's fired up. I think Andy T really wants to get this spot back that he lost at the start of this one, but we'll check in with him when he gets closer. In the meantime, into the first corner, it's looking like Tolvanen is finally getting himself a little bit of breathing space. That was wide from Snyder. So he falls into the clutches of Freesia once again. The last time we saw Gernot have a go at things. Oh, and this is another great exit here, DJ.
Yes, it is indeed. He's now just got to try to keep as minimal inputs on that wheel as possible. Just take full advantage of the draft. Here comes Freesia, though, down to the inside. That is going to be him trying to get that move done on Snyder. It's going to be a lap battle of the late breakers as they dive down into the corner. Snyder looks a little bit better on the binders, carries momentum around the outside. And that is Ove Trangere looking very interested in everything as well.
Yeah, Reed trying to make a pass on Ove as those two continue on, coming out of turn 6 and into 7, but the inside of 7 makes Ove have the advantage. A little bit of a peek there from Timothy down the hurry downs, and nothing doing for the time being. Yeah, I'm starting to think more and more that Snyder's got a lot of wing cranked into that thing, because he seems to be nowhere in the straights, but can brake so late. Freesia, I thought for sure he was going to be done.
I did too. I thought he had that move taken care of, but that's the second time that we've been able to see Isaac Snyder make a move around the outside in defense and hold it out. And Joe, I completely agree with you there, running probably a little bit more wing, and that's just allowing him to carry more momentum, more speed on that high side as Freesia runs a little bit wide.
Covers it off just in time. There's not much space into Bill Mitchell Bend to try and attempt to pass. So as they come down into the final corner once again. Oh, it's going to be a huge tow for both Trangere and Reed. Surely this is going to wind up in some side-by-side racing as they try to decide, do they want to hold the straight line or weave with their rival? Now it's going to be Ove Trangere who takes a little bit of a peek, and Timothy Reed. And despite my anticipation, nobody goes side-by-side that whole straightaway.
I'm very surprised as well, although I love Timothy Reed. Now he looks, no, he doesn't. He's going to back out of it there. I thought he was going to be very, very aggressive and have a move down into turn 3.
And something must have happened to Partanen. He's been caught already, unless the draft is just that powerful. I'm checking to see, and I'm not seeing any major mistakes. This must have been just sheer pace that Partanen's been run down, and there are now 0.3 of a second between himself and T. These two fought plenty of times last season, and they have come back for more.
Indeed they have, Joe, and there you can see it really and truly just kind of taking little bits and pieces out of that was Andy T. And then on that last lap, once he was able to get into draft range, able to take a big 0.5 of a second chunk out of the lead by Paulie Partanen. There's no mistake to be seen. That last lap from Partanen was a 52.28. That is faster than everybody else on track with the exception of Andy T.
Just incredible pace. They're 4 seconds ahead of Michael de Turk right now. So they've scampered away to have their own fun in this race, and they've got plenty of the race left to do so as they come down the main straight. T, not usually one to try and sit around and play games. He's going to want to try and get up to the point and lead. He likes to have that open air in front of himself. But as he follows, he's got a little bit of a toe. Doesn't look terribly quick comparatively. He starts to gain. He's going to look to the inside, but he doesn't have enough straightaway.
No, not going to do it there. Now for Andy, though, I like the fact that he was able to poke back into line. Let's see how he sets up through turn 3. My guess is he's going to try to back up the corner a little bit. Yep, there you see it. Got a little bit more clean air on the front wing and able to blast down the Moraine sweep. Here comes the move.
This is for the lead. Andy T around the outside coming into turn 5. Partanen is going to try and fight back. He's still got a little bit of a nose in. T, does he chop him off at the apex? Just barely. Doesn't completely cut him off, but that's going to give the lead to the number 2 car.
It is indeed. So some perseverance there from Andy T, able to make this thing work, and now he is going to try to pull a little bit of a gap.
Behind them, Isaac Snyder came from all the way behind Gernot Freesia and almost managed to keep him back once again, but this time Gernot is through. I almost think we need a replay of this one because this was just huge out of Isaac. Brave on the binders today with Gernot Freesia actually fully ahead of him by the time they hit the brakes.
Indeed, as they try to get that going, and you can see everybody pulling together here, and I think we've got that replay ready to go.
Let's take a look at this one. Once again, this is just absolutely astonishing, and it is due to the slipstream again. It does look like Freesia has better straight line speed. He's already pulling alongside. He's going to be completely ahead. Now watch the green and black car just blast right up next to him.
So much later on the binders, really able to hold that out, and there you can see him just holding that line. And Joe, that assessment we made earlier, better on downforce, I've got to agree with you, really able to get it done.
Oh, here we go. That was one a bit earlier. This is the latest one that we're looking at, where he actually completes the pass. Yeah, once again. But this time, it looks like a little too deep, unfortunately, and he had to finally give it up. And there goes Freesia on through, and now that he's been released, he's starting to pull away a little bit. Jukka Tolinen has done so as well. He's about 2 seconds up the road from them. You'll see just a flash of him up there. Yeah, there he is on the left-hand side of the screen. And the Turk ahead of Tolinen, though, is still about 7 seconds up. So Michael the Turk, even though he can't keep hold of the top 2, has certainly got quite a bit of pace on his own in the podium.
Indeed, Joe, and a lot of times in open wheel series like this, that's not uncommon to see that you'll just sort of run a race unto yourself, and that's exactly what's happening here for Turk. But for him, yeah, I think he's going to be happy to just be able to pull away here. And looking at the lap times, he is running just a hair quicker than Jukka Tolinen in clean air. So unless we see a major mistake from him, knock on wood, he'll be clear.
Indeed, we check back in there on Freesia, and he's got himself up to 6/10 now ahead of Isaac Snyder. So that's looking like that's spread it apart. We've got a battle farther down in the field. Viekainen chasing Mosquera in the 16. We think there was a mistake, a little bit of an off a little earlier from the 16. He is in that tan and green machine being chased by the number 20 down through the kettle bottoms, and it looks like Kimo is actually quite quick here as he gains, but then decides against trying to attack.
Yeah, and that's not altogether surprising, Joe. If Timo's got the speed to be able to really pull that, or Kimo's got the speed to be able to really pull that out, I would say try to set him up a little bit more, maybe into turn 1 or down into turn 5. Canada corner, you can get it done, but because of the massive speeds you're carrying, and it's a deceptively tight corner, you don't want to have to make a move there unless you can.
Side by side, will he make a move into turn 1? He's still keeping that overlap, but doesn't have straight line speed over the other car of Javier Mosquera. And side by side through turn 1 carries on. Oh, they're going to touch wheels. Got a little too close to one another. Thankfully, they get away with it. And it looks like Kimo is now surely going to have the spot, but he'll give the slipstream right back to Mosquera. I think that was a tiny bit of netcode connection, unfortunately, between them. And taking a small peek to the inside, Mosquera decides better than trying to fight back. He's just going to consolidate this 13th position. He's actually up 5 spots still right now, so Javier's not doing too bad.
No, he's not, and I think he'll be relatively happy to stay where he is. You still want to put up a fight there, see if you can hold on to that position, but it takes a very, very heads-up driver to recognize when they are licked, when the car in front of you is going to be faster, and you've just got to pull back a little bit and let the race come back to you.
Now, the pace that Andy T has been running has been incredible. Set another fastest lap of a 51.3 last time. As here we go again between Reed and Snyder. Snyder's not been able to stop the bleeding here today, just keeps having to give up spot after spot. So despite being quick in certain parts, like we said, if you're not fast in a straight line, DJ, it makes life very difficult.
Indeed it does, and I'm also wondering a little bit here with Isaac, if he set that car up maybe for a little bit better in short run pace. You know, these cars very, very sensitive to changes in weight because of the ground effects. Is now Ove Trangarade going to be having a look on Isaac Snyder down to the inside into turn 1. If you set this car up for a heavy fuel load, it may not respond the same way that you want it to. There, Trangarade gets the move done. It may not respond the same way you want it to when it gets lighter. Normally we see the cars come a little bit dancier, a little bit better. Snyder trying to fight back though.
Wow, sends it up the inside like we're getting used to, and that causes a big drift from Ove Trangarade. And so weaving the car back and forth. Not sure if that's just to check to see if it's handling okay. Maybe he thought he had a bit of contact in there, but that cost him speed. So Snyder will retain 7th. It was as high as 5th at one point, and the spots just keep dropping out of his hands as through turn 5, Trangarade couldn't have a go at him that time, and he might have to wait all the way until Canada corner from here.
Yeah, there's not a lot of prime overtaking opportunities once you get down through the hurry downs here. You've got to be very, very careful. Just make sure you hit all your apexes. But Ove, as we've said, likes to run that car in a lighter fuel load. So if he's going to be able to get a pass done, rest assured it will be done in the draft.
Out of the bottom of the hill, through the carousel and into the kink. Now, this is the last place where Snyder's really going to feel the effects of his high downforce help him, and it switches back in Trangarade's favor. And you can see as they're up to nearly 175 miles an hour, he's on him, but he is not past him. So let's see if he gets a better bite down the front stretch instead.
He just might. He's just got to nail the corner here. Andy T continuing to set another fastest lap of the race. All right, that's a good run there for Ove. Let's see if he can maximize on it. If not, he may do what we've seen a couple other times before. Oh, no, he's going to go for it here.
He's got to watch out, though. Even though he's on the outside, Snyder has shown himself to be incredible on the brakes today. And they start to even out on straight line speed as they go through the corner. Just eases them to the edge of the track. Trangarade, I think, can finally call this pass done.
Yeah, I think he can as well, Joe. As we've seen here, I don't think Snyder's going to be able to get the job done. But then again, he was able to back up turn 3 quite well. Only about a 1/10 of a second back. He's going to have to take a new line here. He's going to go down to the inside of 5.
And if he's even this good on the brakes on the inside, which it looks like he is, he might be able to get it back. Trangrade swinging out almost to the grass and has to get... Oh, and Trangrade is off. He's lost control. He hits the wall, and that is day over for the Norwegian.
Oh, my goodness gracious. A bit of a strange incident there for him. It looks like he just kind of speared off to the side. I wonder if there's some sort of mechanical failure that may have gone on.
That was very odd. Didn't think at first he'd be out of control, but maybe he hit a bump or something that unsettled the car. So Snyder finally has the race to himself, and it's in 7th place. Look at how far ahead Timothy Reed is of him at this point. Thomas Torp back there as well. Let's take another look at this. Let's ride on board. Let's see if he did hit something.
That's a very strange incident there, Joe. I mean, the car obviously does skid a little bit. You get a snap of oversteer as he comes over to the left, but I wouldn't have expected that violent of a motion there from that machine coming up the hill there.
Yeah, best I can guess is he had some sort of hardware issue or software issue potentially. So maybe something in the computer went wrong and he just tried to get it off the course and out of everybody's way. But 9 laps to go. Andy T leads by a handy 2.5 seconds over Partonen. Andy is not going to let Pauli get the opening salvo on this one, although it will be at least a 2nd place, it appears, for the number 3 car if things continue how they've been. And since Andy's not going to be competing for the points championship, that does put Pauli at the advantage for now, gathering the most points of anybody out there as far as we can tell for the time being. T actually is, I think, looking at a perfect score here today as it sits with the pole if he takes the win and if he keeps that fastest lap.
Well, Joe, I frankly can't see a way anybody else is going to be able to take that fastest lap away from him. He is currently about 0.7 of a second up on the entirety of the field with their fastest lap. Really, really impressive stuff from Andy T.
We've come over to Thomas Torp. He just lost his spot to Paul Williams. Braked himself deep into turn 5. I think he's experiencing a bit of the effects of the damage. You can see on the nose of the car, the wing is bent up. And he was involved in a little bit of a tussle earlier that sent him off and into the wall. So wonder how badly that's affecting him, or if this is just him being mentally rattled at this stage of the race. He's in 9th right now, so he's actually down 1 from where he began. So it's not too bad, but more was certainly on the cards.
Yeah, it certainly was there, and Torp is going to be praying for a little bit more. I've been watching the car a little bit. I think he's just suffering from a little bit of understeer, and all that really means is he's probably going to need to trail brake into the corner a little bit more, try to get some more rotation out of the car, and that is manageable. It's not ideal, but it is manageable here for the driver of the number 4.
The car that just overtook him, Paul Williams, let's give a nod to that number 12 machine. He only set 1 timed lap. It was the 2nd one, so it may have been he had a compromised qualifying, but he qualified dead last on the field, and he is up to 8th. Naturally, he is our hardest charger right now at 13 spots up. And nobody's been able to, I think, even come close to that at this stage in the race. There's been others that have been 8 up earlier on, but yeah, closest is 9 up for Timothy Reed, it appears.
Yeah, we got a lot of risers through the field, and, you know, obviously a little bit of attrition playing a part of that, but at the same time, at a race at Road America, it's one of those circuits that if you can just keep all 4 wheels on the roads, drivers are going to have problems. This is a really taxing circuit, both physically and mentally. We've seen a lot of these cars go off. We've seen just little bits and bobbles here from other drivers, and that can really throw them off. And if you make a mistake here, it's pretty much a one-way ticket into disaster.
Well, speaking of keeping it on the course, that seems to be the main goal from here on out. I'm looking at our timing screen there on the side, and nobody's closer than about 1.3 seconds. Everybody's really getting their own little bit of space. And with only 16 of our 21 starters left out on the track, there's not much traffic that is likely to become a factor here today. So it'll all be about just putting the laps down, keeping the pace up, and hoping, like you said earlier, as Partonen now gets the fastest lap away from T. Like you said, DJ, that you have a car that is good towards the end of the race.
Yeah, and we see this a lot. We've seen it a couple of times out of Gernot Frische, out of drivers like Ove Trangere. The car just seems to come alive later in the race. And that really can promote some overtaking here. Watch for drivers to maybe be a little bit more aggressive coming up through turns 5 through 8, down into that area, chucking it into Canada Corner a little bit more. You saw a little bit of a wiggle there coming down into 5. That's exactly that looseness that I was talking about there. That was Paulie Parton and just kind of fighting the car a little bit. And for him, that can be good because loose is fast.
Well, speaking of which, Gernot Frische, who you mentioned likes to give away a lot of downforce for straight-in speed, is starting to gain on Tolinen, and I think he is faster. What if we could take a look at the lap comparison there between the 6 and the 1 and see what it looks like over the course of a stint here, whether or not he's doing much on him. And yeah, generally he is gaining relatively significantly.
Indeed, he is. By the way, for fans of, for fans of Frische, you know, that significant gain. That's nothing to shake a stick at. He needs to get about a half a second closer, and he'll be in full draft range. But if he's able to just close down by about 0.2 of a second, he will be able to feel that draft and really start to pull himself along.
He's hustling it. I could see him sliding through Canada Corner, pushing the car as hard as it'll go. T takes the fastest lap back from Partonen. Paulie probably does want that fastest lap 2 points bonus in this, by the way. I don't think he's going to sit and let Andy T just take that easily. As up the hill, it's back to about 1 second between Tolinen and Frische. It was down as low as 0.8 earlier in the last lap. That time by Frische, 151.4, Tolinen 51.8. So wow, significant gain actually.
Yeah, almost 0.4 of a second. I'm not sure if that was a little bit of an error there from Jukka Tolinen. Let's call it not, actually. That was Jukka's fastest lap of the race, so it's just a matter here of Gernot Frische pushing a little bit more and having to have a little bit more speed. And, well, I said it before, but I'll say it again. That is setting up the car for the late run pace here.
It's down to 0.4 of a second. I think he's starting to feel that draft coming off of the number 6. Won't benefit him as much through this part of the lap. It's a little bit twistier here through 6 and then 7 there into the hurry downs. Downhill braking as we got somebody off. That Williams? No, that's Timothy Reed.
Yeah, and he picked up a little bit of left front wing damage there as well, Joe. So that's not great for him. He's going to be under attack here for the 13 of Isaac Snyder.
Just lost control over turn 6, went out wide. Must have hit a bump in the grass that bent up his wing somewhat. And yeah, Snyder, who has been the one defending most of this race, is now going to try and attack instead. And it looks like already Timothy Reed is going to cover off the inside, knowing how good the 13 has been braking for these corners at the end of long straights, and that will keep him back for now. T with another fastest lap at 50.6. That's about 0.4 faster than Parton, and so yeah, Andy T has turned up the wick at this stage. Don't need to go back to Frische because that is spread apart. This one's a little bit closer now between Snyder and Reed. And Reed looks like he's recovering well. He may have had an off, he may have been rattled for a brief moment, but Snyder has not been able to snatch that P6 away.
No, not really able to close in, but if he can keep up in the draft range, what he's going to hope for here is to be able to push enough for Timothy Reed to make a mistake. Watch for him to kind of poke his nose this way and that, just see if he can force him offline a little bit.
Let's see if he does anything of the sort this time. Yeah, not showing his nose here. I think he needs to stay in that slipstream down the Moraine sweep just so that he gets pulled along, and Timothy trying to brake as deep as Isaac tends to do. Unfortunately, that sent him wide down at the apex, and once again is vulnerable. Snyder really needs to get that slipstream to try and get a chance to attack. We're hearing that Timothy Vaughn had a bit of an off. He's still sitting last of those running in 16th.
Yeah, so Vaughn has had some problems this entire race. Actually, remember, came into the pits on lap 1, courtesy of, I believe, that jump start penalty that he had. So he is just having a very, very rough race, though, as we continue to focus on Snyder. Keeping it close here behind Timothy Reed, not letting him escape. It looks like that draft is keeping him alive.
We're going to ride on the roll bar. Let's see how quick they get coming up the hill and to the start-finish line here in a moment. Ooh, he's falling off through Bill Mitchell Bend. He'll want to try and chuck it through the final turn, use as much of the exit as he can, and keep the speed up down the straight. It looks to me like he's fallen a little too far behind, so won't be able to attack at this stage. Ahead of him, Frisha got within about 1 to 2 tenths of Yuka Tolan in that time. I wonder if that battle for fourth is going to start to erupt again.
It very well might, as there you see him come off of turn 3 right now, trying to maybe get a little bit of a room. There is Gernot Frisha, a little bit of a poke to the inside. He's going to be too far back unless he wants to make a massive move like that.
Just trying to get in his mirrors, I think. That was a long ways back. So I don't think that was an intentional move. Meanwhile, Snyder, side by side around the outside, his favorite move today. Timothy Reed, who will try as he might to hold him behind, actually gets a better exit coming off of turn 5. The inside of turn 6 will finally put Snyder fully behind that number 5 machine.
And again, this is very, very impressive out of that number 5 because of the damage on that left front wing. As we talked about a little earlier with some of these drivers, that's going to affect his turn in, that's going to affect car rotation, and he's going to be having to be manipulating the brake pedal a little bit more to compensate for that loss of downforce on the front end.
So that puts Snyder back to about 0.3 of a second back. The last time we saw him get pretty close here coming into Canada corner. And he is, again, starting to gain. Yeah, I think that damage, like you said, just hurting that straight line speed of the 5 and making him vulnerable to a car that's already suffering similarly, except the car behind him is also going to be quicker through the corners.
Yeah, exactly. And for Snyder here, what he needs to do is just make a high percentage move, really focus on corner exits here. Remember earlier how we saw drivers be able to back up turn 3 a little bit more, take a later apex into the corner, carry more momentum out of the corner. I think that's what he needs to do, unless he tries to go for a dive here down into turn 1. He's going to poke his nose to the inside now, tries to keep it flat out. They're going to be side by side coming off the corner.
Great catch by Timothy Reed as the tail wanted to waggle on him, but there goes Isaac Snyder. He's passed. Is this going to be enough, or is he going to be vulnerable once again? As ahead of them, it looks like Frisha's finally gotten side by side with Tolanen trying to outbrake him down into turn 5. Has he got it? It looks like he might. He's going to have to finish it up here in turn 6, looking to try and just ease Tolanen out to the outside, and he does so. And behind them, Reed gets the spot back from Snyder.
Yes, he does. I was keeping an eye on it, Joe. Just a matter of breaking later down into turn 3 and being able to take that inside line. Great stuff from Timothy Reed.
Wow, Gernot Frisha up from 6th on the grid to 4th now. So he's got clear air in front of him. Michael de Turk, though, is about 9.5 seconds up the road. And we're going to be 2 to go here in a second because Andy T's just come to the line himself. 5 seconds ahead of Pauli Partanen. So Pauli, after being overtaken, kind of, I think, knew the deal on this one. Knew that he wasn't going to be able to really run him down and hope for a mistake. Another fastest lap from Andy T once again, with a 50.3 this time. Will we see anybody crack under the 150s by the end of this race?
Well, we very well might. Normally, I'd say if you were in Andy T's position, it's just time to sort of clutch and coast and let this thing come to you. But it doesn't look like Andy has any intention of letting off.
I think he wants to keep that fastest lap out of Partanen's hands. I think this is a matter of pride for Andy T to show that you can't count him out. Doesn't matter what he's competing for. Each race he's there, he's for the win. And there is our current leader, pole sitter, and now fastest lap holder in this race with the white flag at the ready next time he comes to the line. Keeping half an eye as well on those 2 battles we were watching earlier. Looks like Frisha is starting to pull away from Tolan and Reed. I think Reed is actually also dropping Snyder a little bit.
Yeah, very slightly through the first sector there. He was about 66 thousandths of a second faster. Snyder able to gain back in some time on that last couple of corners, though. So I think the draft helping out there a little bit through sector 2.
So coming down the hurry downs, he's going to at least keep him in his sights, but Snyder is going to have to get much closer in this last lap and a half to really do much from there. And so far, it is still Paul Williams who is our biggest mover back there behind them in 8th position, now up 13 spots from where he began this one. I'm sure that is going to put a big smile on his face for today. The 5 coming down into the braking of Canada Corner. Snyder just following him in, hoping that he can get within striking distance. But as they pop over the crest of Bill Mitchell Bend and then bring it to the left to enter into the right hand of the final turn of the track, we are going to get the white flag. 1 to go now.
Indeed, 1 to go, and there you see a little bit of a defensive move from Timothy Reed, just trying to weave a little bit, break the draft to Snyder, as this is that final lap. He does not want to leave anything to chance.
Going to ride on board with Snyder, looking ahead. Isaac will feel a little bit of the effects of the slipstream. He'll need a massive launch off of here, and he is pushing hard. He didn't even hit that inside curve coming down through there. Once again, Timothy Reed cutting back and forth to try and break the slipstream and keep him away, and I think it is actually going to work.
I think it is indeed. Snyder nowhere near close enough to make an attack. Still very late onto the brakes, but not able to get anything done. He's really going to have one more shot at this, and that's going to be going down into Canada Corner.
Well, that Canada Corner sees Andy T already there, such as the gap that he's pulled to everybody else. So coming back for one last hurrah, potentially. We don't know if and when we're going to see him again this season. So for Andy T, is this the last win for a while? Doesn't matter for now. He's going to celebrate a victory in the opening round of the Sunday Grand Prix Series.
A great run once again from Andy T, setting the fastest lap of the race on that last lap behind Tim Pauly-Parkson and Michael DeTurk, as we've got to finish up here with Jukka Tolvanen and Gernot Frisha. Maybe a little bit something at the end, but oh!
He was trying. Tolvanen wanted it. Frisha staying cool under pressure, as we've come to expect from him. He'll take 4th place. Timothy Reed, though, is this enough for Snyder? He's going to pull the toe. I don't think he's quite close enough. As they get up to the line, it's going to be mighty tight at the finish, and a mere 0.167 at the line between them. As, we got a side-by-side battle between Barry West and Javier Mascara, and West gets fed out onto the grass at the exit of the corner. Mascara will take that 12th place, which will be our last battle to the finish line. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Road America. We just watched round one of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and Andy T was your winner in the end. Starting from pole, had a horrible start, went all the way back down to third, had to fight his way back through, and eventually snatched away from Pauli Partanen, who did cruise home in second, tried to take that fastest lap away from him, but T denied him by about 0.3 of a second. It was Michael de Turk who came home in a bit of a lonely third place. He was a full 16 seconds off of Andy, and Gernot Friesche fought his way forward, eventually wound up in fourth place. So still a handy finish for Gernot. Jukka Tolinen was P5 as Timothy Reed was sixth position, up from 15th. Nicely done to the number 5 car, as Isaac Snyder was seventh. Paul Williams finished in eighth from dead last on the field. Quite a climb for him. Thomas Torp was ninth, and Kimmo Viekainen was in 10th.
Gwendolyn Old made a great way up through the field to come home in 8th, followed by Javier Mascara. Barry West was 13th, with Pablo Suarez and Theo Schleret behind them in 15th. Timothy Vaughn was in 16th. Your last driver running here today with Trangerade, Ryanen, Finnegan, Freckleton, and Pye, all DNFs on the day.
Looks like we've got Andy ready to talk to us, and I guess the first thing that we'll want to probably ask him about is what happened at the start of the race with the very bad go off the line. Andy, did you bog down, or what happened that lost you those positions at the very start?
Oh, I just released the clutch ever so slightly too quickly, and yeah, it's just wheel spinny when you do that. So, whoopsie.
Well, you made up for it. You ran them down, and eventually you caught Pauli and passed him. From there, was it just mainly managing the race?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, just feeling the car as it got lighter and finding more and more pace. And I knew from the race before that if I could pass Pauli, I didn't think he could stick with me. I mean, the guys had like no practice this week, so I'm sure he would have been closer if he'd had the time. But yeah, big respect anyway. And while I'm on that, huge shout out to Michael, who didn't fight me too hard for P2. Thanks for that, buddy. That saved me a whole chunk of time to not have to go too wide with you around half the track.
I'm sure that greatly helped. Now, I'm curious, how much of a Vettel-esque approach do you take on this? Because we saw the fastest lap swapping back and forth between you and Pauli. Were you watching that? Were you aware and trying to intentionally take that away? Or was that just a case of the pace you were running?
It was just the pace I was running. The lap he got it, I made 0.4 of mistakes. So, yeah, like, wasn't surprised as the fuel burns off, he got quicker.
Well, that answers that then. But I know you said you're not going to be around for much of them. How many are you anticipating? Is there anything in the schedule you've looked at and said, oh, I got to show up for that one?
Silverstone is on my birthday, so I'm tempted. Other than that, it's like I'm really busy the next few weeks. I'll pop in when I can. I doubt I'll get to 8 races for championship defense, whatever. So we'll just turn up and do what we did here and have some fun.
Sounds good to me. Congratulations on the win, and we hope to see you when we see you.
Super. Thanks very much. Quick shout out, Raccoon Racing, the fam, you guys for the broadcast. And Hoops, enormous shout out. Next few weeks are going to be utterly ridiculous, and I couldn't wish for anyone more awful to share it with. Thanks, guys.
We got to get Hoops on here someday as we now head to talk to Pauli Partanen, and DJ has caught up with our second place finisher.
I have indeed, Paulie. A good run for you out there. A great start that saw you jump ahead of Andy T. But talk me through a little bit of that race for you.
Yeah, very good start for me. Well, actually, maybe Andy got a bad start. I was really hoping Michael would keep him behind him for a bit longer, but yeah, he's very good overtaker. And when Andy came close to me, I made a small mistake, and he was able to overtake me, and that was it. Really, I had no pace to overtake him anymore. But it was a good race. I like it.
I mean, obviously, running around this track, it does take it out of you a little bit. But yeah, so when you saw Andy coming up behind you, I mean, were you really thinking to put up a defense, or was it just sort of okay, he's probably going to get past me?
Full defense, like always.
Love to hear it, my friend. I'm going to pose the same question to you that we did to Andy there. Any tracks that you're particularly looking forward to on this schedule now that we start up for a new season?
Well, I don't know. I haven't even looked at the schedule so much, so I don't even remember what tracks there is. But next week is Hockenheim. I never raced it there, so it will be very interesting. I like the track, so most likely it will be the highlight.
Well, all right. We look forward to seeing you there, Paulie. Anybody you want to thank for this second place here today?
Thanks to you guys always helping me as much as you can, and thanks to you guys also. You made very good broadcasters and they're fun to watch. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paulie. That was Paulie Partinen. You were second place finisher here today. And now, Joe, I believe you've caught up with third place, Michael de Turk.
Indeed. And we heard Andy saying thank you to you, Michael, for not fighting him too hard. So did you actually fight Andy hard, or was that actually letting him go?
I wouldn't say letting him go. If I said let him go, it would have been I would have let him go before we got to the braking zone, but I didn't exactly try to push him out wide when we got down there.
That makes sense to me. After that, it looked like to us it was a pretty lonely race. So you're just kind of doing your own thing out there?
Yeah, I think everybody got used to hearing me commentators curse them from the booth, so they didn't want to be anywhere near me on track.
Well, that is still a pretty good start for you. A third place is nothing to be ashamed of, especially since you started there. So nothing lost, nothing gained. Heading off to the next round, we're going to be trying out Hockenheim. Do you think you can keep another podium on for that one?
Road Atlanta, yeah, right. Road America, different track, different part of the country. It's not one of my stronger ones, but I think Hockenheim I generally do better on if I can keep myself from spinning out at the hairpin, or having Yuka, do a little spin attack on me, either or.
Yeah, we've seen the videos of those. And anybody you want to thank, though, before we let you go for today's podium?
You guys for joining us for another great season. Timo for a great baseline for today's set, and Andy for telling me to stop being stubborn and drive faster.
I love the thank yous we get in this series. We always get some fun ones. That was Michael Turk, who finished third today, which is going to wrap us up. Before we go, though, once again, a big thank you to the channel sponsor, the Majors Garage. Again, we've got a link in the description below and a discount code included, Majors GSRC, to get 10% off on your order. Make sure and use that if you go check them out. But also, we want to give a thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here. Also, thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store, gsrc.storeenvy.com, and there's a link in the description below for that. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because, as we mentioned, next week, it's off to Germany, Hockenheim, Sunday, March 27th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Up next, the Absolute Beginners League goes to Road Atlanta at 3 p.m. Eastern today. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.